Hey guys, welcome back to the second episode of 10-minute trades. My first video was on AMD. I put it out last night. If you haven't seen it already, make sure you check it out. I break down my technical analysis on different tickers of your choosing. So in the YouTube comments below, let me know what ticker you want me to do next. But on my recent video, someone requested that I do Apple. So here we are, taking a look at the one-day chart here. So every candle here represents one trading day of Apple stock. You can see we have earnings here. The next earnings session is on October 29th. You can see Apple paid dividends on August 7th. This August 31st was when Apple did its 4-to-1 split. But taking a look at these candlesticks in the chart pattern here, first things that we noticed, RSI is basically in the middle, not really overbought or oversold. The pink line here represents the 50-day moving average. The orange line here represents the 21-day moving average. So Apple is trading above the 50-day moving average right now, which is going to act as a little bit of a support. However, it is trading below the 21-day moving average. That's because of this recent sell-off in the whole market the past few trading days. Now, the one thing I noticed is that there looked to be a positive uptrend, right? All the way back from a recent low on March 23rd of about $53. And this is obviously accounting for the split now. But if I draw this trend line all the way up to past today, and then I draw a parallel channel above that, you can kind of see that Apple's been trading between this channel. I mean, actually this channel is even tighter. I mean, it was very tight. The channel was about this tight up until this recent breakout up here at the top. And so I widened that channel, but you can leave the channel like here if you'd like. So we broke out above it, then we crashed back down. And it looks like this was the beginning of another downward channel, which is not good, because then this is a bearish sentiment. Now you could also say maybe this is a triangle pattern, right? Because you have up here, one side of the triangle down here, and then a base. But I think this was just visually easier for me to see as a downward channel, but I think the effect will be the same. So we have this downward channel here. So it looks like we need Apple to break above this downward channel. And that's going to be a price value, if we zoom in here, of about $115, $116. So we'll have to wait and see what Apple does tomorrow. But let's just take a look at some of these other trend lines and support and resistance levels that I found. So the first thing is, here's the Fibonacci sequence. So I drew the Fibonacci from this recent low of March 23rd to the recent high on September 2nd. So right now, we are trading right below the 23.6% and right above the 38.2% Fibonacci levels. So this is going to act as a theoretical resistance at about $118 per share, and theoretical support at right about $105 per share. So let's see how other factors play in. So I drew this resistance line here at about 129. As you can see, we had three candles here near its all-time highs, where we just kind of topped out here, bounced below, we broke above it here, and then came right back down. And again, this wick here touched it. So I think right now 129 is an area of resistance for Apple. We keep going. I believe there's another area of resistance right now at 116, and that's right where we closed out today, because you can see there are a couple candles here in mid-August that basically touched it or got really close to it. So that's why I think right now we are probably at, somewhere between 116, maybe 117. We are at a level of resistance right now for Apple stock. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens, because you have the resistance level from this downward channel, then you have this level of resistance from this trend line. So it's going to be really hard, I think, for Apple to break above 116 tomorrow, but we'll see what happens. If that does happen, then I think it's a very bullish move on Apple's part. But Apple may still want to trend bearishly in this downward channel, but we'll have to wait and see. So let's take a look at some more trend lines here. So here's another trend line, which I think right now is going to act as support at about 109. Because you see, there were a few candles here back in early August that kind of bounced off this trend line right here, here. This wick got pretty close. These wicks also got close. And we finally bounced off here on August 11th and then rallied up. So I think 109-ish is another area of support right now for Apple. So I think right now, Apple is going to trade somewhere between 109 and 116 in the coming days if it can't break out above this 116 resistance level. So let's take a look at some gaps actually. So there's a little gap here, between about 107 and 106, or 106 and 108. You know, it's so narrow that it's to be determined. This is still a little bit of a gap, but Apple may want to break down below this support level and fill this gap. But there's a bigger gap here, a little bit even lower down, and that's going to be between 100 and about $96. So yes, there are some candles here, but we did gap up on July 30th to July 31st. So Apple may want to fill this gap, and that's why I drew it red, because I think this gap in yellow is going to get filled before we hit red. But we'll have to wait and see really what Apple does tomorrow, because I think we need confirmation to see if Apple is going to trade in this downward channel still or break above this resistance level. So that is really my 10-minute due diligence on Apple. Let me know if you agree or disagree. We can clean this up and take a look at it without all of the crayon markings on the map to make it a little bit more palatable. But we can just take a look and see what Apple did today. If we look at, let's say, the 30-minute candles here, so Apple, again, it actually rose above. We closed the day, the last candle of the day, we rose above the 50-day moving average, which is a great sign. So what I'm going to be looking to see is if tomorrow we stay above this 50-day moving average, because that's going to be bullish, because this right now is going to act as an area of resistance. So if we close, or if we open tomorrow again below this 50-day moving average, that is not a good sign. I mean, that means that the bulls did not have enough oomph to propel Apple into the bullish zone. We are still, however, above the 21-day moving average, but as you can see, Apple did have a relatively downward trend from about market open. You can see we sold off really quickly when market opened. The next 30 minutes, we kind of bought it all back, or bought half of it back, I should say, but really had a downward trend in Apple all day long. I mean, we can really see that if we go back to the daily chart here, because yes, we had a green day. We closed above where we were yesterday, but you can see this candle is very short. It's not a very long candle, which means there wasn't a lot of movement today, which is interesting, because I would have loved to have a big green candle like we had here on August 21st to kind of cement that we were going to have a rally now and be green going forward. But that is my technical analysis on Apple. Let's just take a look and zoom out, because Apple really went parabolic. I mean, here's peak illness right here around February, early February. Peak illness, the worst Apple got was around March 20th, March 23rd. But as you can see, this huge trend line, if I draw it, I mean, from here all the way up, it's just straight parabolic, right? I mean, it's kind of crazy. I'm going to hide this just to make it easier. Before the illness, we kind of had some, what I probably perceive to be healthier growth than what we had now, but Apple just went straight parabolic and then actually came, you know, I don't want to say crashing down, but had a good correction. I mean, right now, or actually as of end of day Friday, Apple traded as low as 109. We haven't seen 109 since early August, so just over a month ago. Actually, exactly a month ago, because Friday was September 11th, and August 11th was the most recent day that we hit around 109. So we basically retraced 1 month's worth of Apple gains, which I think is a very decent correction, but I'm going to wait until I buy in or start trading cash secured puts on Apple until I can confirm that we are in another bullish uptrend, right? Because I am scared that this might just be a blip on the radar, kind of like this candle was and this candle was, and that we are still going to keep trending downwards. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Really, tomorrow's going to be a critical day, I think, for the market overall, but specifically in this case for Apple. But if you saw my other video earlier today, AMD and space are also going to depend on what happens tomorrow in terms of how I trade them or when I decide to open up my covered calls. But as always, if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. Let me know what ticker you want me to do next. The most upvoted ticker will be the one that I choose. And as always, happy trading.